Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Sim. I'm the head of content here at Unlimit, and it's amazing to have you here on our Female Voices series. Could you please introduce yourself, tell us a bit about what has led you to your career so far, and what's a day in the life look like for you?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for having me here. My name is Elena Emelyanova. I'm working at Wargaming in a gaming space for the last 12 years already. Before joining Wargaming, I was working at a mobile carrier company in the roaming department, and almost for 5 years, I would say. And I liked the job, but it was limited in what I was doing and my responsibilities. And I started looking for something else. And I had no idea that I could be fit to gaming company, be frank, since I wasn't really a hardcore player or not even into PC games world. But it appeared that the skill set that I obtained by that time was good enough to join the newly created payments team at Wargaming back then. There were three of us initially, and everything was created from scratch, as you may understand. Policies, workflows, strategies, structure of the department. It was fun, but at the same time, it was quite challenging. However, when you are young and beautiful, you are over the moon. And it was also a period of great learnings and experience accumulation. After some time, I got a team and I started managing and be responsible for other people as well. It was another challenge for me since I had no practical experience in this before. But if to recap my career pathway till now, in brief, I would say, I can name three crucial things which made me who I am now and which I like actually the most about me working at Wargaming. So number one, practice was always above theory. And let me explain you this. Anything what I was doing and anything I'm doing now actually, very often it is for the first time in my professional life. And it takes me a lot of efforts, time and changes related to the comfort zone to do the things right and to grow further. So back in the days, after having already practical experience, I attended lots of courses to support my experience with theory, which may sound a bit irrational, but from educational point of view, this is the best approach. And Wargaming team trusted me and was giving me such opportunity, which I appreciate a lot. The second one is I was always given a choice what to do, which I consider to be great privilege and luck, actually. For example, I asked to be in charge of implementing payments in Latin America for Wargaming because I liked the region. And that was my project for few years, as simple as this. And now, for example, I'm responsible for fraud at Wargaming, just because many years ago I got interest in this topic myself, and upon my initiative, I started investigating wargaming cases. And the third one, I'm never bored at work, and there is a constant growth of me as a professional. Every year there are new challenges, there are new projects, and new experience obtained, and I liked it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. That's amazing. I mean, your career journey sounds like it was very rapid and very like it, and which is amazing. And I think that's such an inspiring story. And the fact that you were very honest with the fact that you took steps yourself. It's very important that I think, especially like as women in the industry, to leverage your own intelligence and take proactive steps so that you are building on your skill set constantly, because it will help you grow and develop. And like you said, it's so important to be able to take steps further, find the right organization that will support you and give you those opportunities. And I love the fact that you were just like, actually, I really like this and I would like to try this. And they were super supportive, which is how it should be, which is amazing.
Yeah, indeed.
So my next question for you is more about the payment space. So how relevant do you think payments are to achieving business goals, and how is fraudulent activity hindering this? And like, what steps do you see being taken in the industry to help combat them?
Of course, it goes without saying that payments are the basis for achieving the business goals, among others, of course. However, I must say that very often the importance of quality of the provided payment services are underestimated by the companies. This is why you may still see companies nowadays which do not have even in their structure specialized payments or fraud teams. The main idea is that behind any declines in e-commerce company transaction flow, as well as behind the broadly agreed commercial terms, there are thousands or millions of saving revenues, which the company can get actually if it invests in payments team or fraud team. And now, why I'm mentioning the fraud team is because one can lose their business in one day or get huge penalties at least because of the few massive attacks in a row. So no matter how strong their payments team could be, this can be very harmful. Of course, the topic of combating fraud in e-commerce deserves a separate discussion. However, if to be short, the motto shall be to find the balance between providing the frictionless payments experience to your customers and preventing bad guys from making fraud. But of course, there are a few buts. I would say I will name a few of them. Number one, the irony is that the most efficient anti-fraud tools are the biggest friction to the customers, like 3DS, captcha, or two-factor authentication. The more you release them, the more you open the door for fraud, actually. So finding the balance is a puzzle which each company is trying to resolve. The second one is that the anti-fraud environment tries to be creative for the above reason, for the above mentioned reason, and implements new innovative options to fight with the fraud, right? For example, frictionless 3DS, face recognition for two-factor authentication, or fingerprinting to identify suspicious activities online, right? And many others. However, fraud environment follows exactly the same trends and actually adapts the new technologies to their own purposes. So as you may understand, it's a never-ending chase with not necessarily actually a happy end for the businesses. So we may talk a lot about it, but the topic is actually very interesting to me.
No, I was going to say the exact same thing. I was going to say that sounds very interesting. And we see, whether it's in e-commerce, payments, in the finance sector, you are seeing more and more fraudulent activity and how people are getting smarter in the way that they do it. And it was such an interesting point when you said very honestly that the best anti-fraud and the best processes that are implemented are the ones that cause the most hindrance, and businesses obviously don't want to put that on their customer because then it would potentially cause cart abandonment. So it's a very interesting and delicate balance, but absolutely, thank you so much for sharing your insight onto that. That's very interesting. I mean, from your own experience, I know you touched on it slightly before. What made you enter the world of payments, and what drove you to then take that into the gaming industry specifically?
So entering the world of payments in general, it sounds to me a bit outer space. It's a magic world. I think, frankly, I must say that was probably a happy accident for me. I didn't plan it. I didn't consider it. I didn't know about the whole another life hiding behind the gaming industry or e-commerce payments, be frank. But I think that it is really important for the young people, for the young women who want to enter this world, to have, among others, a flexible mind, analytical skills, highly activated competitive strengths. This is one of the most important, in my view. Of course, above all, I would say, a good sense of humor, because it is all about communication. It starts always with the communication. This is what I think.
No, I do really love that. Thank you. And I think it is very important. And weirdly enough, most people that I speak to that are in payments, tech, STEM, they all say that they ended up there as a happy accident, and then they absolutely fall in love with the industry, and then they just don't want to leave, which is amazing. And I think that is the case for most of us. And I think the reason why I also enjoy asking this question is because, especially in our Female Voices series, when we ask people and they explain the fact that they may not have intentionally driven there, or they landed there and they've grown to love it, I think it shows the fact that whilst it used to be a very male-dominated industry, and there still are statistics that show that it's still largely male driven. We are seeing change, and that women are really enjoying and thriving in the industry, much like yourself. They're seeing promotions, they're being able to learn. Some people get to travel, they get to adapt to their new skills, and they're facing challenges, whether it's communication, whether it's their learning, whether it's working with people. There's always something to use for your own development, which is very, very important. I would love to look a little bit more at the idea of gaming and payments being intertwined, because they're both perceived to be very male-centric space, as we know. How did you feel when you entered them, even though it was a happy accident? And do you feel that your gender impacted the way that you were being perceived at work? And if it did, like, how did you overcome that? How did you handle those challenges and experiences?
Very interesting question. I will be absolutely transparent here with you. Didn't really care and still don't really care much about it. Statistically, yes, gaming and payments for sure is a male-centric space. Although, as per my observation for the last 12 years, I can say that more and more talented women are joining this community from year to year, and more women become real voices of the industry. And still, in my personal opinion, for a highly motivated personality, it doesn't matter the gender. Based on my personal experience, one can always open the door of opportunity if to knock it persistently and try hard. It depends on what you need as the final goal and on your professionalism. So most important is actually to know what you want. And about the gender, I wouldn't say that I felt impacted because of the industry I'm working at, but rather because of the cultural differences which impact any industry across the world. Of course, there were such cases. For example, I had a meeting, face-to-face meeting with the potential partner. I was the main negotiator from Wargaming side, and I was kind of ignored by the other party. And there was a man there. I was asking questions, and he was addressing his answers and questions to my manager, who was also present at the meeting. So he was basically not even looking at me. I felt weird, yes, but I knew that the more you go to the east geographically, the more you face with the patriarchal style, so-called patriarchal style of management, which was the case exactly that time, at that situation. So knowing these facts can actually help you adequately reacting in such situation if it happens, and even sometimes avoiding that. If I may, I can recommend reading a book by Erin Meyer, which is called Cultural Differences. It helped me a lot, and it's a pure masterpiece related to this topic. In my case, in that situation which I described previously, my manager saw what was happening actually, and he supported me right away by asking the other party to negotiate with me. So yes, a lot of interesting situations happened. The most important is to correctly react, or even to be prepared for such situations, which is even better, right? So you are not trapped in with surprise.
Yeah, no, thank you for giving us such an honest example as well about your experience. I think that's very important to share, and a lot of women would be able to resonate with that as well. And I think the really great thing about that situation was how you said that your manager was the one who stepped up and asked them, actually, no, could you please directly address her and negotiate with her? Because I think whilst women can make strides and they can make attempts to establish themselves within the industry, whether they can establish themselves as working professionals, a lot of the time there's also a need for organizations to also offer support, whether that is through management, whether that's through education and like equal opportunities. There are so many things that we're seeing that are happening across the industry to help support people. But I absolutely love the fact that your manager stepped up in that moment. Yeah. Also, a really great part of what you said was at the very start, you just said, honestly, I just didn't even really care. And I think that mindset, whilst it may not be something that everyone is capable of doing, because a lot of people have a certain level of awareness, or they may feel self-conscious in certain situations, it's a wonderful attitude to take, because if you are able to uplift your own skill set, you immerse yourself in opportunities, you're able to build yourself up as a working professional in payments, in gaming, in STEM, in anything related to our subjects, it you will start to feel a difference and a level of confidence that it doesn't matter who is challenging you or, in your experience, or ignoring you in the room or trying to push you out of opportunities. You will have the confidence and the knowledge to support yourself. And I think that's a really important message that you're sharing. So I really do appreciate that. That's amazing. What advice would you share to people on managing success and self-doubt, and that you would like to share with other women who aspire to reach a management position particularly?
Of course, there is no magic pill or magic advice which will obviously help, definitely help. So I will just be saying, based on my own experience, that some things for sure shall become your life principles. And I will give you some examples, what I did and what it is for me, right? What are these principles, which will be my advice, basically. Be always confident, but not over too much, and always challenge yourself. Never say, I don't know or I can't do it, but rather say, I will learn it by tomorrow. Rely on your colleagues and don't be afraid to ask for help. Always ask questions, even if they may sound stupid, because your learning journey shall never end. And this is the case for me always. I always remember that. Always say yes to the opportunities. For example, the simplest one, to speak, to present, to negotiate. Even though it might be scary for you or from your point of view non-doable at that time, always remember that everything is doable when it relates to work. Another one, for example, always be prepared for the meeting. And this is one of the most important for me, especially at the beginning of my career. Always be prepared for every single meeting, every conversation, every presentation. It might take long at the beginning, yes, but it will change. So never ignore this step. Do not be afraid of people being afraid of you or not liking you. The most important is to make sure that people around you treat you with respect. This is what matters. Have respect to every single person you interact with, no matter what position he or she holds. Another one, be soft and kind when it relates to empathy. But be straightforward and harsh when it relates to principles. Sometimes people may perceive it as aggressive or too straightforward, but in my opinion, this is how it should be. And do not be afraid of responsibilities, of getting more responsibility. I'm sure accumulatively, these principles can definitely help anyone achieving the goals, no matter actually which industry it is or role, in fact. So some of them may sound probably too obvious, right? But this is the trick. The most important things are very simple. And there are many, many more, of course, but I try to accumulate the most important ones.
Thank you so much. That was actually really wonderful to listen to, because even as you were saying it, I was sitting here like, you're right. Yes, I should remember these things. And I think it's a very clear message as well. And there were so many wonderful ones there. I wouldn't be able to even pick a few to stick to. But I love the fact that you were touching on personal values as well as someone as a professional, and embracing opportunity, and also knowing your worth and standing your ground, whether it's as a woman, as an employee, as a colleague, because I think that's very important. And even though in a workplace we all have a job that we need to fulfill and we're trying to uplift ourselves with our skill sets at all times, it's very important to remember that we also have a moral compass. So very much how you mentioned with empathy and standing true by your principles, those are very, very valuable. I absolutely love that. So I won't dwell on it for too long, because I don't want to dilute your message. I would love to know, being in a position like yours, of your level of seniority, your experience being in our industries, what would you say are some of the biggest challenges that you face?
I see any challenge as an opportunity for growth. Anything that makes me develop myself and grow, I can call a challenge, no matter which position I have actually at this or that period of time. For example, managing a team is a challenge. Yes, it is a challenge. Taking responsibility for others, making strategic decisions for the company, taking responsibility for some absolutely new field or project where you have no experience yet, even if you are already senior. right? Even accepting invitation to speak at the conference while knowing that the public performance is a nightmare for you. This is also a challenge. Overcoming such smaller things give you a lot of power to successfully complete the bigger challenges.
Thank you. I think that was really lovely, because what you essentially did was you recognize that there are areas of challenges, but how they're all opportunities as well for self-development, for growth, for putting yourself out there. And I think we all have moments like that where we feel like, oh goodness, this is like terrifying, or I really, really would like to avoid doing this. But by doing it, you are building your confidence, and you're slowly channeling yourself to be better at what you do. You're preparing yourself for the future of your career. And I think as women as well, it's very important, because more often than not, we can see that there are other people in the room who may be louder and get heard faster, easier, and much like your experience that you described, people will naturally turn to certain people and say, what do you think? So building on all of these things and using these challenges as a way, rather than looking at them as obstacles, but a way to improve yourself and challenge yourself in a positive way, is very important.
Yeah, great.
Thank you. My next question would be about the future of tech and payments, and what do you see as the future for women specifically in those industries?
That was a trap question for me. Very interesting question, but I was never thinking about it actually, and that's why it's interesting. I'm quite skeptical about fast changes referring to the whole world, or even in specific industry. So I think that there will be, again, that's my personal opinion, I think there will be no crucial changes in the nearest future for women in tech and payments. But the most important things to achieve success for women or men in tech and payments would still be the level of your professionalism, your experience, your motivation, and the goal which needs to be set clearly in your head, and probably a bit of luck. The answer to the question is very deep, but very brief, I would say.
No, that's a very interesting perception. And I think it's definitely something that we hear quite often, where people are saying, I don't think that there would be a fast solution. I don't think there would be like a rapid answer, or there won't be one that's going to sweep the entire world all at once, which of course we would never expect, although it would be amazing if there was. But I definitely agree. And I think focusing on themselves and enveloping themselves in experiences will be very fundamental. And I think that way people are bolstering and improving on their confidence, and things like seeing this series or reading and networking with other women, it will give women more leverage to enter industries like tech payments, because they have a better understanding, they know what opportunities are out there. We have people like you and other wonderful guests who are joining us and being able to share their stories, so people can say, okay, I understand that, I can use this resource, I can read the book that you suggested, I can meet new women that are in the industries, getting their experience. And I think that's very important and will definitely help shape the future.
And actually, I wanted to thank you as well for the such series that you make with such a wonderful topic, because actually this is something that was not the case when I joined the industry, and that's what is changing probably. Actually, this is the change which I've seen for the last 12 years working in the industry, that more and more serious about women, about in generally working in industry, in gaming industry appears. So as you said, women can hear about the careers of other women, right? And take an example. So this is thanks to the job that you are doing as well. So
that's very, very kind of you. Thank you so much. It's definitely something I'm very passionate about, and I'm just very grateful that I have incredible people like yourself joining to help share your journey and give other people an opportunity. So thank you. That's very, very sweet. I'm already on my last question with you. I can't believe how fast it's gone. But I would absolutely love to know, what advice would you give to your younger self and other women who would like to succeed in our industries?
When I hear this question, I have definitely few concrete things in my head, which I would definitely advise to a younger self. First of all, don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to challenge others if you think that something is incorrect, only because somebody is more senior than you, or you're just afraid to say something. Don't wait for somebody to tell you what to do. So it's about initiative. This one is very practical. Always check and reread emails before sending them, before pressing the button send. Always check information provided by others to you if you are responsible to send it further to somebody else, because this will be your responsibility. So know every single word what you are sending to somebody else. The most important, I would say, always be polite and well-mannered, but never let people manipulate you. So these are, I would say, 5 important things that I would go back to the past and tell myself, and I would definitely advise other women to follow.
I absolutely adore those. Thank you so much. They are amazing. I feel like you should make these into posters, and then they would be wonderful to put in offices or workspaces. No, that's perfect advice. And I think it's all incredibly true from the experiences that I've had as well. And I'm sure that it will benefit other women and even men who may watch this series. I think it's very important advice for professionals as a whole. That was my last question. And I can't believe how quickly time has gone by, but I'm so incredibly grateful to you for carving out some time to speak with us, share your experience and your stories and your insight, because it's so valuable and your career pathway is so inspiring. So I'm eternally grateful to you. So thank you so, so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for invitation, and really glad being here and sharing. Yeah.